Oh, okay, here we go. Can everybody hear me? Let me see if everybody can hear me. All right. All right. I think I hit the wrong button. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to Dirty Laundry. This is our first launch. Let me see if I'm doing a test run right now, but this is the actual show. So what I want to do is be organic, right? What I want to do is welcome everybody to the Dirty Laundry show where we unpack hard truths. We unpack hard truths in our community and heavy baggage in the Black community. These are topics that are too taboo for other cultures to touch, but too uncomfortable for us to take full accountability for. But not here, not today. So so grab your seat, brace yourself, get yourself together, and ask yourself one question: Are you ready? If you are, then good. Let's go ahead and air it out, y'all. This is Dirty Laundry.
Hand me that Vega, dog.
So tonight,
Twisted.
I'm gonna jump right in there and just
My
let y'all
daddy
know.
always told me to look before I leap and
I got
think
some
before I
wonderful
speak
guests
and watch out for the company I keep.
I got some
Always packing heat when I'm out in the streets. Keep an eye out for the crooked police. I'ma let you see
I got some
the world through my
it's
eyes.
just overwhelming, but
I'ma let you see
understand it's gonna be for the good.
expose all the lies.
Tonight, I got my guest, Malachi Maccabee, Megaton Light Bomb, a brother that I've been doing. He's acting as my co-host tonight. He's actually my co-host for the night. Um, I've been doing this brother for 20 years plus, and I can say that we've been down a lot of roads together as far as uh, just schools of thought, just reaching new levels in our consciousness. And I can say this is a truly good brother. It's been a great journey to be on with this brother that I have on here right now tonight. Malachi Maccabee is in the building, y'all. Y'all give him a round of applause for being in the building tonight.
Hey man, all praises to the spirit, the ever present, the Almighty, whatever functionality
Yeah.
of name, we feel comfortable with. But look, it's good to be in the building with some righteous, it's good to be in the building with some like-minded brothers, man. We can have some powerful conversations that's needed amongst strong men.
Yes.
We ain't got to worry about tiptoeing through tulips or you know, too many fancy soliloquies or trying to lotion our wrists. No, us men, we get right to it.
Yeah, for
So we
sure.
can go ahead and make the right decisions to bring back to our communities and make it happen. You know what I mean?
That is
So
what
it's
it's
good to be on
about.
the panel with you brothers. My brother, I've known this brother for KO, Kador, Kevin, whatever you want to call this brother. I've known him for close to 2 decades. It's my first time. My brother Chief Solomon, peace, love, light, healing to you, brother. And I look forward to a powerful dialogue. Let's cook.
And without further ado, I want to jump right in there and introduce my guest for the night. A really wonderful brother. Um, him and I have been knowing each other for just about as long, right, Chief? We've been knowing each other for probably like 15 years, don't you think? I can't hear you, Chief. Let me get you in there. Y'all gonna bear with me tonight. Go ahead, Chief. I can't hear you. Something going on the Chief's end, but I've been knowing Chief for better part of 15
Can
years.
you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you,
Can you hear
Chief.
me
There
now?
you go. Yeah, I think I've been knowing you for about 15 years
Okay.
now. You know what I'm saying? Can you hear me?
I
Can
can
you
hear
hear?
you.
Yeah, for sure. Y'all bear with me.
I
My
believe so.
continuity
I
is
believe
getting
so.
together.
Yes,
We having a good
I can
time
hear you
tonight,
well.
though. We're gonna have a good conversation tonight. I want y'all to understand this is gonna be a really fruitful conversation. I think you should really put your thinking caps on in terms of perspective um, on being locked into the things that you hear tonight. We got two powerful brothers on. Like I said, without further ado, I want to introduce our guest speaker of the night, our guest for the night, Chief Solomon. Chief Solomon is in the building, y'all. Uh,
Greetings,
give a round of applause for Chief
greetings.
Solomon. I'm working. Look, I'm incorporating this. So check this out. Give that brother a round of applause. That's what I'm talking about. Chief Solomon, Chief Solomon. What's interesting about this, and I just got to be real with what I'm saying to you. This is a real podcast. This is a real conversation between men. This is going to be some great information. But I met this brother while I was waiting tables at the Cracker Barrel in St. Louis, Missouri. I was waiting tables, right? And we've always had a genuinely good conversation with each other. We've always had every time we came together, it was a building session. And then we came together here recently. And and forgive me, y'all. That was a little it took me off guard. I didn't see nobody behind me at that point in time. But here recently we met at my son's um, computer school. He goes to computer school at a Presbyterian church off of Halls Ferry in Missouri. So I wound up seeing this brother, and we got to talking, and he wound up telling me that he was a chief of a tribe. And I'm like, a chief of a tribe? How are you a chief of a tribe? And I've been knowing you this long, and I never knew that you was a chief. So he got to breaking it down to me and explaining it to me. But without further ado, I wanted to introduce Chief Solomon. I wanted to introduce you guys to him. And Chief, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Oh well, thank you so much again for having me on, and it's been an absolute pleasure. It was great to see you again. I have to say
Yeah,
that,
same to you, brother.
and I definitely want to. Yeah, so so it's been a very interesting journey, right? So years ago, one of the things I did a lot of teaching way back in the past on information, and I would have to say it is quite funny from the journey, because my journey was a journey of always wanting to find truth, right? Truth was the main objective, to
Right,
find truth. And in finding truth, one of the very first areas in doing that was dealing with the area of religion, or being in the church and that type of a thing. And so I end up studying lots of different religions.
right,
Okay. And in studying many different religions, it also got me into history and also into law. And when I started getting into history and into law, it come to find that many of different again, the different faiths were very important to many of the different societies, and seeing that, it helped me to get to a place of greater, what should I say, a greater need to be able to make a difference in the world, and in doing so, understanding who I am, and then what am I supposed to do to make things better on this planet. And I think the number one thing to make things better is if we're able to come from a standpoint of truth. And so from there, uh, I went through an area where I started learning lots of different things about laws, but I actually um, did an extensive amount of work in the area of business and in trust. So that's
so hold,
very extensive. It costs quite a bit.
let me put you on hold for a second there, Chief. I don't want you to go too far into it. Let me Let me put you on because I want to
Yes.
get you. I want to know who you are before you start telling me everything about you and telling our audience everything about you. I want to know who you are. So just to jump right in there, where did you grow up?
I tell you, I'm a ma- I actually grew up in the St. Louis area, but even before growing up in St. Louis, yes, I was actually born. It's a nativity day around here, but then after that, went to live in Canada for a little bit, and then went to live in Colorado. And then after uh, being in Colorado, we came back to this area, and we've been here.
Now,
Again, I've
did
done.
you get an opportunity to
I am
see
a
any?
man who's been to
Hello?
see any what?
I'm saying you said you were a man who's been.
Yes, I'm here. You said, did I get an opportunity to see what?
Did you see any Native Americans when you lived in those
Yeah,
areas?
I've been able to do some travel. I'm pretty certain that I saw them. It's just that many people have been misclassified today,
Oh,
right?
okay,
So
Mm,
that's a big, big issue, right?
okay.
mm.
People are misclassified, but we have to understand why are they misclassified. But we'll get to that later. But
Well, so,
Yeah,
it's
I
can
just
very
want.
I ask
important
a
for us to
question? Can I ask a
comprehend
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
question
actually
real
going
yeah,
quick?
on.
yeah. We
Yeah,
don't want
Because look. I think that's a powerful point.
it is.
That's a powerful
It
point. When you
truly
brought up
is.
look, KO. When you brought up Native American, he referred to them as them. Then brought up reclassification. Like there's a lot of reclassification going on.
Yeah.
So my question would be for the chief. For the chief, just right off the bat, is there a difference, Chief
yes.
Solomon, between the Aboriginal American Indian and who everybody calls a Native American?
Oh, absolutely. That's a very clear
Yeah.
Absolutely.
distinction in law,
All right. Let's just go and jump
very
in there.
clear
Is that?
distinction
Yeah.
politically as well.
It's a clear.
Look,
Oh,
he said
it's a very
absolutely
big,
because
very big,
that's why I've
clear
been up top for a minute now. Like
distinction.
got to be a difference between who they call and who they call. Like some people call them $5. Some people call them pretendian or
Nah,
native.
nah, nah.
This is the jargon, KO, bro. This is the
I
jargon.
know, but listen. It's important that we build a foundation before we build the house.
No doubt, no doubt. I just wanted
It's
to ask
important
a
that we
quick
build a
question. Like,
foundation before we build the
they're
house.
different because
So we can't just jump into that
I
meat
got
because
you.
I
I got
want
you,
to
bro.
build the
Yeah,
foundation.
put the leash on me, brother. I'm with you.
Build.
Put the
I,
leash. Hold on.
I have to
Hold
pull you
on.
back in, brother.
Yeah. I
Pull
just
you
wanted to
back
see
in.
what was up real quick. I'm gonna
Because
bring
this
you up.
is a very important topic.
It is.
This is why I wanted to do this as one of my first ones because
Yeah.
it sets the foundation for us as a people to be able to know and have some kind of root of where we come from and where we started.
For
that is
sure.
very that is
I
very
agree.
important for us as a people in general,
I agree.
right? So I want to build the foundation by asking you where you came from because I need to know what started you on this journey for the people who are watching who are not at that point where they really are able to because we've all ingested a lot of information, right?
Yeah. Facts.
So it's important for us to set that groundwork so they can know how to get into it later on when we figure out how they can figure out who they are and change their
I agree.
status.
Sometimes you got to put the leash on your little bro, man. You know, I'll be ready to.
Oh
You know,
no,
it's
no, you're
right
not.
on. It's all good.
And sometimes you gotta let them run wild.
Yeah.
And
I just certain keywords, you know what I mean, trigger me. I'm like, oh, hold on.
yeah, for sure.
But go ahead, King Solomon. I didn't mean nothing by it, brother. Go ahead, keep cooking.
No, it's quite all right. Just to realign the conversation, everybody. Check this
Oh,
out.
you're
Yeah,
very,
for sure.
you're very fine.
You came back to St. Louis after you lived in those areas. How soon was that? Where did you go to? Did you go to high school in St. Louis?
Oh, I did. Went to Ferguson as well as to Hazelwood Central.
Okay, so I'm gonna speed it up because I see we want to get there. Everybody want to get there. So let me speed it up. So now you go through all these transitions in life as a young person. You go through all the things because this is really deeply embedded in us. This is something that we have to unpack the right way. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we've been taught that we were black, which is an adjective. We've been taught that we were African American. We were taught that. Did you attach yourself to any of those titles early off? And what was the transition point when you said enough is enough? What was the catalyst for that?
That's a good question. Remember something when I was 12 years old, and I remember hearing there was a case of two men, a quote unquote black man and a quote unquote white man, that end up, and I'm not exactly.
I think we lost the chief. But let's keep building, bro. Like, so that's important for us to know that, bro. What you asked him was a legitimate question. Is it two different things? So when we get him back on the line, we'll press that button. Let's press that button.
There's a play on words, right? And there's something called new NEW speak. So the words that we're using 40 years ago don't have the same meanings in a lot of cases. You know what I mean? So it's very important always to identify and define what it is that's flying off your mouth. What are you saying?
Exactly.
So when
Exactly.
he said when you want a Native American, I
Right.
noticed something. He said them. I said, oh, he know the difference. He know the difference between a Native American and an Aboriginal, who you would call an American or an Indian, already living here,
Right.
versus the Asian, European mix type situation.
Right.
There's
Right.
a difference. And I peeped when he said them. I said he didn't say us.
So I think that's a
He should have been saying we or us. He said them.
them.
You know what I
Distinguishing
mean?
the
So
difference.
yeah. It's
Let's
all
see if
good.
we can get him.
It's all good.
Let's see if we can get him back in here. Where is he?
I like the way the conversation going so far. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure, man. We experiencing a little technical difficulty, y'all, right now. But hey, look, this is real life. These is real issues. These are real people, and this is real talk. So
Facts.
everything is gonna be real with the Dirty Laundry podcast. We are always gonna air it out. So let's get the chief back in here real quick, brother. But you did touch on some really, really, really great topics. I mean, a really, really great topic, because, like, I always had a problem with people calling me black anyway. I don't know. I tend to cringe
Yeah.
when I hear like black, you black,
My
you know,
black brother.
yeah, you black. Like,
I'm kind
but what you'll
of
find out
brown. My
is,
babies know that. Babies be
right,
like, I'm brown. I'm like, yeah, I know.
exactly, your skin is actually brown. So when people describe you as black, it has to be applicable to something, right? So when we talk about classism and how people will say this isn't a racist country, but if you really look at it, classism creates racism by default. Classism is applicable in this case because our classification of a people is important. What you just asked was an important thing. In a system of
Yeah.
classism, in a system, let me let him in. Let me see this chief getting back in here.
Yep, that's Chief Solomon.
There he is, right there. Sorry about that. Hey, chief, you still there? You there? Chief,
I am here.
okay. All right.
The funny
Hey,
thing, the funny thing about that is that that's not the first time that's happened.
Hey, man, listen. It must be some really powerful stuff about to come out. So that's the way I look at it. I always look at the positive, but like,
True.
okay,
True.
we continued the conversation as before you got back on the phone, right? So what I want to do is I want to, like Russ said,
Okay.
classification. We was talking about classism, right? And how classism creates racism, right? So a classification of a person is important because in order for you to know where you're going, you have to know where you came from. You can't have an ending without a beginning. Would that be correct?
hmm That's right.
All right. So
That is correct.
so explain this. Explain, because bruh, I'm gonna let you say what you say he said. What did he say? And you caught it. What did he say?
What, dealing with the Native American versus the Aboriginal, who everybody would call American Indian. There's a difference between the native, the
Yeah.
classification of being a Native American. Some call them $5 Indians today. You hear some people say pretendians. There's a Mongoloid European mix type situation. Like if you look at some of them can pass for Mexicans, or you feel me? So there's a difference
Or
between
Russian.
those who are classified as Native American versus the Aboriginal, copper-colored, indigenous, if you want to say American Indian that was encountered, that Columbus and all them cats ran into, De Soto and all them ran into when they decided to venture over these ways.
Right.
There were people already here, united in Confederacy, United Nations, all type of stuff going on.
So,
You
so, so
And
can you
so
elaborate?
I found out today that a lot of people say a lot of people of our cipher say they're Native American, but that's the wrong type of verbiage that should be coming off your mouth. You're better off saying you're Aboriginal or indigenous to the soil. That's all. That's what I was inquiring into.
Did you understand what he
I agree
said?
with that.
T, you agree with that? All right. So,
Yeah.
so T,
Yeah.
tell us.
And I would say the reason why I agree with it is because we have to make a very distinction because in this society where we are, uh, the number one thing that they deal with is commerce all the time. Commerce, commerce, commerce. That's the number one thing that they want to deal with. And from a commercial standpoint, we could say that we're American Indian. But then for me as a man, and for us, we want to say, okay, if you want to say you're American Aborigine or Aborigine American, from the terminology from the 1828 Noah Webster Dictionary has the definition of American, and it talks about the copper color races found here by the Europeans when they came, which are now applied to them.
Mm.
There seems to be many times where they would take on these definitions that are not really theirs to begin with. But and even if we want to go back from more ancient time, uh, where they even got the word America from, was a Tamari, meaning this is ancient Egypt in this land here. So that's even further back, dealing
Now,
with the
now,
Tamari.
hey,
So
that is something that is, and that's very controversial. What you just said, that I've heard a lot of pushback from a lot of people on that. I've heard so many things about people pushing back on the Americas being actual Egypt and the Nile being here. The Nile, you know what I'm saying? It's there's a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
there's,
That's
there's a,
been a topic of controversy for a few years now,
yeah, a
even
few
down to the
years now.
maps being flipped upside down.
yeah,
The
Yeah,
maps flipped, the
Peter's
east is the
projection
west.
versus a
Yeah, I
Mercator.
heard it.
You
I
know what I'm
heard it for a
saying?
while.
There's always been the you understand what I'm saying, like why the ships had
oh yeah,
to invert, and and why they had to do it. And what's crazy is that it's all tied to capitalism. When you think that this is a corporate construct, I don't know what people, but go ahead. I want you to cook on the Tay Marie thing, the Tiamri, Tiamat from uh they showed you the depiction in the movie of Manoa. What's the movie with the little Hawaiian girl? Mon,
Uh, 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 Moana,
Moana, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Moana.
Tiamat. So they drop little gems every now and again in their media too, right? But go ahead, Chief. This
Absolutely.
classification thing.
It's just simple. Yeah, it's important that we understand and where does it come from? Again, from a standpoint of law and scripture. And when I say scripture and law, and the reason why I say scripture is because of the simple fact that again I have studied so many different religions, and in studying so many different religions, um, the one that I was raised up in, of course, was called Christianity, which was here. But from that point, I was able to see, even from this commercial standpoint, that's what this system runs off of.
Correct.
Even on the Public Law 97-280, they say that the Bible was the foundation
The
for the
official
United
word of
States,
God.
right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. So Public Law 97-280, even though uh, the there's a lot of different things going there. So even Abraham Lincoln called it ancient Egypt. So some of the presidents even called it that. So it's not it's for some it may be controversial. It's not really controversial for me, because of the the amount of reading and the source material that's there. There's a massive abundance of it. So when you go to Europe, you're going to see a lot of our pictures there and so forth all around in their museums. So it's not really an issue of contention for one here at all.
So what? Okay, so like I was telling bro before you got back on, I've always had a problem with being called black. I actually do it when I do my docu series, my interview with
That's
Life.
actually true. He actually has always detested being called black. I know his brother, so that's true.
I just don't like it because that's funny, but I'm saying it's the truth though, right? Because when you ask people, right, you say, okay, what color am I? And you have on, I normally do it when I have on a shirt that's black, and I ask them what color I am, and you'll be surprised when I do my interviews with Life in the car. I ask that question, and people go, "Well, you're black, but my skin is brown. So what does that mean, right? What does that mean truly, right? You know the books that we've read, and I'll be able to show some towards the end that I think would be liberating for a lot of different people. But go ahead, Chief.
It
What
comes
classification?
it comes back to being a lover of truth. You see, even the scriptures talk about that being a lover of truth. And if you're going to talk about that, uh, one here's talked about that even in some places of faith, and they didn't like that. But the simple fact is that they say worship the creator, whether you want to call him God or many different names that we can come up with here right now, the most high, a higher, sure, a higher, but we can go on down the list of names. But the bottom line is the creator of all. And the thing is, they say, well, we have to worship him in spirit and in truth. Well, many of us, as far as many of us melanated people, may worship him in spirit, but not in truth. Uh, you see, because and that's a very yeah, it's a controversial thing. So when we're talking about that, and we're talking about black, and they see those things, it becomes very difficult for them, because they're used to saying it so much, and they're used to saying it so much. Those words become spells, and that becomes a very interesting thing, because when you start taking on, so when we talk and we hear now about black culture, and you wonder why many of us are at the very bottom, is because of the actual naming. When they say that, they don't realize that they're cursing themselves. They don't realize it. They don't realize it.
That's serious. That's serious business. Power in words.
It is
I want to go back if
the
I can.
power
I
of
want to.
words.
I just want to double back a little bit and deal with the America being Egypt, because I've heard this. I've seen compelling evidence really on both sides of the aisle.
I have
To be
to.
honest with you,
I
okay,
have to.
okay. Uh,
I have to.
even down to the maps being flipped upside down, so the east is really the west. All the extra stuff, right? The north is really the south. But this is my question, right? If we put Egypt over this way, we got to bring Babylon, Assyria, we got to bring Sumer, we got to bring Cush, we got to bring all the surrounding empires that were hostile toward who we call Egypt and Israel, the land of Canaan. We got to not now we got to bring them over this way as well, because Egypt just can't be all the way over here. And then all the enemies and
Correct.
nations that went to war with Egypt and the land of Canaan, they over that way, but
But
Egypt is
wouldn't
right
that?
here.
But
You see what I'm saying?
if I
So
may
that was
interject,
that was one of my questions, always being like the evidence is compelling. I can't lie.
right?
I
But if
can't
I
lie.
may interject,
The
right?
evidence is compelling.
Wouldn't that make sense? Wouldn't that make sense for them to want to reclassify you if they knew that they renamed everything over here? They've renamed so many different things. You
Oh
don't
yeah,
know who
for
you
sure.
are, right? So, is it possible? Is it possible that the land of Canaan or the people of Canaan, because we do know that they call names lands now, people's
Yeah,
last
for
names
sure.
now, right? So the people of Canaan could still be here. The people of
Hey,
this could still
because
be
look,
here.
if the United States is Egypt, then Canaan is Canada. Shit.
I,
Canaan,
I,
Canada. It's like
I
it's
mean,
right
come
north
on.
of it.
Hey, wouldn't that
You know
make
what I
sense?
mean?
Wouldn't that make sense though? Because we
Yeah, but
know.
I'm saying, but when we get into like the archaeological and historical, anthropological, like the stuff they digging up out the ground, you know what I mean, steles and all that, and you got the king of Moab dissing the Israelites because they God was weak, but the name of Israel is in the stele and the name of Yahoo is in the stele. You know what I mean? What I'm saying
For sure.
is, well, history and archaeology is still being dug up and proves that these nations that were hostile or sometimes even allies with Egypt or Kemet and even Canaan, you dig, they were in close proximity to one another. So my question is always being, after examining all the evidence, where is Assyria then? Where is Babylon?
Babylon,
Where is
right.
Sumer?
Or some
Where's Cush?
Kish, right? What's Kush?
You know what I
Right.
mean? Where's all
And
that?
Kish.
A
Because
lot of what I would say is this: we have two things we need to take into consideration.
absolutely.
Number one, there's a time when when all the land was together. What they call
Pangea.
it Pangea, right?
Pangea, for sure.
The
Ah,
second thing that we would, yes, so that's the second thing we would look at is that the oldest Paleo Hebrew artifacts that you will find on the planet, you'll find on this continent.
The Back Creek Stone. The
yeah,
back.
yeah,
That's one of them.
yeah, yeah.
That's one, but they have several others, which
Okay.
are the
But
oldest
when was the
Paleo
like
Hebrew.
the dates
Even
on them though?
again, that's the oldest Paleo Hebrew that you'll find, and Phoenician
Ooh,
information that you'll find will be here on this land. So when we're talking about those things, and again, I'm not an archaeologist, right? But what I can tell you is again from lots of reading and not even from me. There's what's a gentleman by the name of Glenn Beck has a
Correct.
yeah,
documentary from
I
as a matter of
seen it.
fact that
I
that was
seen
that
that
was
shit.
one of the number one
Yeah,
things that got him
that was
kicked off
powerful.
of the Fox. That got him kicked
He
off of
did.
Fox.
Glenn Beck.
Exactly.
I remember that. I remember that.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
I seen that
Yeah.
clip, Chief.
And
I seen it. I said,
Yeah.
oh, you know what I
That's
mean? But
exactly what got.
me and KO knew that because we got a book called Fossilized Customs. You
That's
remember that,
right.
KO?
That's right.
That
I
Fossilized
definitely.
Customs, and it showed down by the Rio Grande, the Ten Commandments etched
Exactly.
in stone in Paleo Hebrew. They
Exactly.
did. You did. So yeah. Real spill.
and that's the reason why you can't go through most of the areas of the Grand Canyon is because it's under FBI watch. They're not going to allow you to go in there because they still have cities of gold there. They still
Yeah.
have, ancient Egypt artifacts that are gold
Did you see?
there.
You seen the History
Uh,
Channel?
so
I seen the History Channel on that where they were saying they found a massive Egyptian treasury that was buried, like gold and all type of stuff. They like make no mistake about it, it was definitely like ancient Egypt. I just don't know the time period on it, like when it was like how far it went back or whatever.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, man, like I said, the evidence is very compelling. It is. It
Yes.
is. You know what
oh
I mean?
yeah.
It's
So
still it
and
always
if you
leaves
look
so many
throughout the whole
questions.
planet, yeah, if you look throughout the whole planet, you'll see that the oldest pyramids and or mounds are on
In
this
the
continent.
Americas. Mhm.
That's right. As a matter
That's a
of fact,
fact,
this
brother.
area in which we're in, we're really close to what we call the
Cahokia
Cahokia region
Mounds.
mount. That's
Yeah.
right, is was once the capital, and a lot of the writings were ancient Paleo Hebrew.
I've been to the top of Monk's Mound. So if I
Man,
may,
look, bro.
let's do some let's do some pedaling back for a second. Let's go back. Let's just pull back for a second. So you were telling me how you wound up getting involved in finding out the information that you find out. First of all, let me ask you what tribe do you represent? What's the name of your tribe?
The Okaloosa, Achukma, Arawak, Chata Nation.
Okay, you say it one more time for me because I just really needed you to slow that down, slow that down. Just
Okay.
I need to hear that in slow motion. Say it in slow motion one more time.
That is the Okaloosa, Achukma, Arawak, Chata.
Okay, now does that have a what
It's a
does that
long
mean?
one.
Yeah. So what does that mean?
Black, the black water of peace of the Arawaks and Chata.
Okay.
I
Okay.
see what Arawak and Chata, that comes from, again, the heritage that one here has. What one of the when we talk about people talk about the quote unquote slave trade. Well, one before what they have, what they consider to be the so-called African slave trade, was the trade amongst many of our people from North America into South America, and from South America into North America, and into the Caribbean islands, so they were transferring us all over the place, and in doing so, again, my family was caught up in that. So my family was transferred from here down into the Caribbeans and into South America, and of course we made our way back up to North America. So, but then you'll find the Arawak all the way from all South America into the Caribbean islands, all the way up into the top portion of Georgia. You'll find the Arawak and the Chata. Again, you'll find in very large areas as well. So it's fascinating. The history is fascinating of our peoples, and it's important that we recognize exactly the history of our peoples and how we have come to be in these many different places. Um, so it's very, very imperative to
So so,
comprehend that.
so elaborate on that for me, and that's because that's really what I'm asking. Like we got reclassified. I remember a time when black was something that we didn't like to be called, and then if I'm correct, Jesse Jackson termed the phrase African American. But white people can be born in
Hmm.
South Africa and come to America and get citizenship and still be classified as African American. So it's not applicable to
Yeah.
us who we are culturally. And I think that if we start to dig deep enough, and this is where I'm getting to with you, is that I want to dig in there and really find out how, like, I've been on this same search that you've been on, that where you found yourself a part of this tribe and are now the chief. Like, that's empowering, right? So what would you consider, how would you tell somebody to get started on their journey? How would you tell us how you got started? That's where I wanted to stay at. How'd you start? Where'd you start at?
The number one thing you want to do is talk to the oldest people in your family first. Number one. After doing that, finding out the places where they have been, because many times, again, the names could be mi- mixed up, and they would have different names. They wouldn't even call themselves sometimes certain things, but they would call themselves certain things sometimes. You have to realize exactly where they're talking about. So find out where in general the oldest ones are from first. Then secondly, you want to get to their death certificates and birth certificates. Those are the next things. Now again, when we're talking about birth certificates and records, many times you'll see things in the papers if they had papers, but from the older areas, you're going to find things from church records. Okay, the church records, because the birth certificates, at least those in this land here of the United States, only came about from the 1930s, right? After the 1930s, after the Emergency Banking Relief Act, they start doing these birth certificates, 1932, 1933. So when you're dealing with that, that's very important. Um, and that's when you start dealing with a lot of the birth records. Some of them they start coming in the 1920s too, during the time of Walter Plecker and the Indian Act of 1924. But you have a lot of birth records, and then the next thing is census records.
Right.
Census records are very, very important. So you'll notice that this is a funny thing you'll notice with
So
many
if I
census
may,
records today.
why are
So you
census records? Why are
Mhm.
census records important? Why are they important?
Because they're going to show. This is a funny thing. If you go to many of them today, many of them may have. This is quite funny. They'll have the designation of whether they were Negro. Sometimes some of them will say Indian. Some of them will say different things, but then you'll find a lot of them today, even though it has the heading of Negro or Indian or different things like that, they'll have a big B on there, bold, that they're changing up a lot of the old records, but they're changing it and putting it so easy in your face that you can see that they're changing it. It's so funny that they're putting B on there for black, which is quite hilarious. But you'll see that the very top of the heading, it says Negro or mulatto, or it'll have these different terms. So
Right.
again, they'll choose any particular other word than the word that you came up with. And the reason why they don't want that is because that way they don't have to obey any treaties. If they say the people are gone, you lose all rights to your land. You lose all right to your birthright. You lose all right to lots of things if you don't know who you are, and you don't have that knowledge. So it's important that you do some research on your lineage. Very
So
important.
okay. So where would that be? What's that first step? Where do they look? Where would I look? Because I've been wanting to know who my people are for a long time.
Again, the very first thing is I would talk to the oldest people in your family first.
They're killing us so
Hey,
fast.
how are you doing? Where you come from? What city were you in?
I heard that
Yeah,
we are
true. This
double
is
digits.
and now that's another thing which we have to understand about why things are happening the way they are today. It's for that very reason. So you can't make claims.
Hmm.
You see, you have to make claims. You have to make claims.
You're right. You gotta get
Claims as
clarity.
to what your heritage is. So there has to be clarity and you have to make claims. So even if you were not able to talk to your elderly,
I can't
next thing
see
you go
your.
to, you
Hold
start
on
with,
for a second, Chief. Give me 1 second. I think we have is a little
mhm.
technical difficulty. Malachi Maccabee, is your camera off, brother? Where you go?
Yes, sir.
You
No,
all
I'm
right?
right. I'm right here. I'm right here. Hold on. Make sure y'all can see. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
right here. I ain't went nowhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm over gathering some things.
Okay.
I want to share something with the panel. Eventually, as we get
Yes.
down to the end of this thing, man. I got something I
Yeah.
think Chief Solomon gonna like, man. Like really, the way he talking, yeah.
There's
I think
some.
he
Do
gonna
you
like this.
want to
Yeah.
check? You want to check into your death records? You want to again. That's the reason why you want to. If you can get to the elderly in your family, you want to see where do certain people live, and this is the reason why our family um, get-togethers are so important.
Mm.
That way we get to learn who each other is, know where each other are, where did different people move, and why do they move to that area. And it could be a very frustrating thing. There's many people I've talked to has been extremely frustrating because they have been adopted, um, and I've had some very sad stories of people um, who've had some very rough um, upbringings as a child and so forth. Then that they don't have those connections. But
Correct.
the big issue that you want to say and know is, and this is why I ask many people, oh, well, we're from Africa, we're from this and that. Do you have 100% proof that you're from there? Where's the
I,
documentation that
I
that's
can't
where you're
say that
from?
I do.
Hey
I
man,
can't. I
I'm gonna keep it
You
real
cannot
don't.
with you.
There
say.
isn't.
I cannot say I'm from Africa.
Hey,
That's
look,
right.
I gotta
You
keep it
can't.
real with you. I gotta keep it real with you, right? My grandmama on my daddy's side, right? and may she rise in power and witness all the glories of the Great Spirit, man. That was my girl there. But listen, to my grandma was straight Mississippi, bro. Like Noxubee County, Macon, Mississippi. Born in the like late 1920s type.
Ooh,
All she know is Jesus, nigga. Like you feel me?
right.
So and she never said nothing to me about no Africa, bro. Never. And then listen to me. She was the my granny was so dark. She was the darkest child in her family. She was so dark. They called her Soot, right? They
That's
called her
that's pretty,
Soot,
that's pretty dark,
right?
bro.
Now listen to me. My
Uh,
granny's so dark, but her hurt, bro. She never had a perm or nothing. Her was just like this silky black. You know what I mean? It just always messed me up. Like you did, but she never talked nothing to me ever about no Africa. If anything, it was like, you got Indian in you and all that. I was never talked to about Africa ever. Not
I,
even my
I wasn't
grandmama.
either.
She turned 90 in a couple of weeks on my mama's side,
Right.
right? But I'm going to see her in a couple of weeks, bro.
Exactly.
She never talked to me about no Africa. Nobody said nothing about no Africa, bro. It was the TV.
I
It was
never
the
heard
TV.
anything about. That's right. I'm gonna have to
So
agree with you on that, bro.
So
I never heard
my
that.
question though, my guys, because we always got to bring the flip side of the coin, Chief Solomon. You know that, right? We
Oh yeah.
bring the flip side of the coin. My question is though, being that we're more into genealogy and family records versus the DNA, what do you say to those who go and get their DNA done, whether it's from several different companies or not, right? But they keep bringing back DNA markers of being African. What do you
Right.
say to brothers like that? And
Right.
these brothers look just like us.
Right.
Well, let's
What
let's
do you say to
let's
brothers
take
like
a
that?
look. Let's take a look. What we have to look at right now are the lawsuits that these companies are having right now. Every last one of them are having
Yeah.
lawsuits right now because it is being fully determined that it was purely for entertainment purposes only.
Hmm.
Purely entertainment purposes only.
Can you elaborate on that? When you say entertainment purposes, what are you
Because
saying?
there are people who are actually African who have their bloodline that they have the physical records on, that they have done, because a lot of them have not been they've not had the tumultuous past on this land as they had in some areas of Africa. They've been very clear, so they have families. They can easily run back 600-700 years, and they will state that those people are from other places when they know 100% their family records. Um, and they'll have twins that they'll say are different from different places and different things of the sort. So again, it's for purely entertainment. There is no uh, there's more of a harvesting of people's information, if anything. But no, there's no uh, a rhyme or reason to that. That's not going to help you in your search at all. It's not going to. I would highly suggest that you don't do it. And if you have done it, to resend it. Resend it. Tell them that they cannot have your information, that they need to destroy it immediately.
Exactly, because I mean, how can you? This is something that always loomed in my mind about this whole going to check your DNA thing. I mean, that can be manipulated, and they only pull from
Oh yeah.
one source, from what I hear. You know what I'm saying? And it's all
Hmm.
speculative. You don't know. I don't really know. I'm not at the laboratory to see it. But what I will say is that I can't trust anything that comes from that side, especially like, okay, I just can't trust it. I don't think that we all came from Africa. I just and you said something about Pangea, right? So Pangea is the supercontinent. That's when everything was together, right? If to those who don't know,
Hmm.
right? Um, so I always tell
Hmm.
people we're from everywhere. If things are
That's true.
changing
As a
names,
matter of fact,
if
I,
things
c-
are
I could
changing,
tell you this.
go ahead.
I could tell you this. We had the ability to have our daughter go to Russia, and had our daughter go to Thailand and study in Thailand. Well, when you go and when she went into the interior into Thailand, those people look like you and me.
The indigenous. I was called colored. Somebody called, hey bro, Malachi Maccabee, Megaton. I was called colored recently.
You was called colored.
Yes, on
Colored.
one of my jobs. I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. On one of my jobs, and what I call it is I call it harmless racism from white people, right? Because she was completely oblivious to colored being a derogatory slander towards me. She really thought that it was correct, but that goes towards socialization. It's a whole nother conversation.
No,
Right.
she knew.
Well, let's unpack it for a second, right? Let's just unpack it, right? Let's unpack it. That I think she knew, maybe she didn't, maybe she did, but who cares, right? So she said, "Well, so what are you?" She was like, "I mean, you're a colored guy, right?" Because we were having the same conversation about race classification. And race is a new phenomenon, Malachi. We studied for a long time, so you know that race is a new phenomenon. We do things based upon who we are family wise, you know, who you connect with as far as culture, right?
Right.
So I told her, I said, she said, "Well, how do you identify?" And I said, "I identify as indigenous." Is that would that be the accurate thing to say? Is that accurate, Chief? Do you think that's accurate? Do y'all think that's accurate? Do you fellas think that's accurate? I
As long
mean,
as the definition line up with what it is, then absolutely. Because
You
are
can
we in,
say
it's important.
indigenous.
It's
Again,
important to
I would say
define
American
terms.
Aborigine, or Aborigine American. We're one of the Niji people on this continent.
okay, Malachi? You already said we wanted the Anichi. So Malachi, what do you think about that? What do you how do you feel about that information that he just said? What you think, Mac? The Aniji
No,
people, because I haven't heard of Aniji people ever.
no, it's all different different terminologies. It's just based off what's being meant. So if I asked him to define what that is, what would Chief Solomon tell me? What does that mean, Chief Solomon?
It means you're really Aboriginal to this land. Bottom
You're
line.
Aboriginal to this land. So it's the same. So it's the
Yeah.
same type of situation. I want to actually share something with y'all,
Okay,
if it's possible.
okay.
Okay, I'm gonna hit share my screen. Let me see screen. Let's say presentation. Okay, screen right there. Now look, I'm about to dive into something highly controversial once again, but really when it comes down to spiritual texts, and we dealing with like the Bible, Quran, Medu Netura, or whatever, right? I'm gonna go ahead and say it that really the only spiritual text in the world that identifies to you who the Aboriginal American Indian copper colored skin brother is. I ain't read nothing else that straight tell you like, okay, yeah, that's them niggas right there. You feel me? Like you read about the description of Moses in the Bible, but all that supposedly happened all over that way, right? I'm saying we about to go into a spiritual text. I just want to share it with y'all. You ain't got to believe it, receive it, or any of that. What I'm saying is, I ain't found another spiritual text in the world that directly tell you who these niggas is in North America. These copper colored skinned Negroes here in North America. Let me share this with y'all real quick, man. Now watch this. Watch this. Let me know when it's up. Can y'all see that?
I can't see it, brother. I can't see it. You know I'm a newbie. It's coming up right now. There you go, brother. There you go. Can you see it?
There you go. Right.
Can everybody see it? There you go.
You should see Algonquin highlighted. Algonquin.
Algonquin.
The United States of the North American Indians before see Opa Ego Quim also sufficed with Algonquin words and ceremonies. That's one spot. All right, now where I'm at is I'm in what's called the Owaspy. A lot of brothers ain't heard of it. Some have. It's causing a major league rift you know what I mean, in the conscious community. A lot of people don't like it. You know what I mean? When you get a chance, it's a word that means sky, earth, spirit. All right, so when you get a chance, check it out. But know what it says. It's a primary, meaning for the information that's in it, it's a primary source. All right, and then some of the history it says containing the history of the dominions in the higher and lower heavens of the earth for the past 25,000 years. Being from the submersion of the continent of Pan in the Pacific Ocean, commonly called the flood of the Luz, to the Cosmon era or the present time. So it's a lot of little information up in here when you get to like sifting through it, right? Now, check this out right here. Check this out. Gautama. Gautama is the ancient name, another name for what you would call America, right? Chapter 2 of the Lord's third book, in this same book called Owaspy. Look what verse 2 say. And these is brothers that's on the land of Gautama. It says the Angui. The Anguis came suddenly into the world. By the thousands and thousands they came in, the north, south, east, and west. Look at their description. And they had long hair, black, and coarse. So we got who are these people that got this long, black, nappy hair? But their skin was brown, copper colored. And their arms were short like irons. Very proud were the Anguis. They would not mix with the Ahuans, and they dared not mix with the sacred people because of the commandment of the Lord. These Anguis, who you will find, or what this Owaspy is calling the copper-colored Aboriginal American, not the Native American. Notice their description, though.
Well, hold on.
There ain't nobody else on this earth that got long, black, nappy hair with the brown skin to match.
So hold on for a second. Hold on for a second, Malachi. Chief, have you heard any of this information before? Because I know about Malachi has told me about the Algonquins. Malachi, did you hear what tribe that the chief is from?
Yeah, he named a few. It was very long, but I heard when he said it. Absolutely. Hold on, I should be sharing this right here. Y'all should have saw that about the Anguis.
The Anguis. Now, is that something?
The Anguis is another way to say Negro or Negro. It's just you know how they flip words around and all that. You know what I mean? But these Anguigans or these Algonquins are on the land of Gautama. Gautama is another ancient name for America. The reason I went here about these Anguis or these Algonquins is because their description is that of long, black hair, and their hair is nappy, and their skin is brown, copper colored. You see? So what we have here is a spiritual text actually describing.
Are we saying that we are the Algonquins?
Yeah, we are the ones. We are the ones. The Algonquin or the Aboriginal American Indian with the long black coarse hair, copper skin. Yes, look at this right here. This right here is there's another book in the This is in the Book of the Wars Against the Creator, chapter 21. I'm gonna jump on down to verse 11. Look at this. It says, "The time shall come when angels and mortals shall know in truth." Hold on, let me shut the tab so y'all can see it.
Well, I want to get back into the interview at some point, bro. I really
understand. This is right here. Oh dang, my bad. What happened? Something happened. Dang. Here we go. What I was basically bringing out is what I'm reading agrees with the chief. Agrees with him.
Okay.
You know what I mean? There were united, confederated tribes of Algonquin tribes and nations of men that were here. These are the men that Columbus encountered. You know what I mean? And I'm
Oh, so
saying
these are the actual men
this
that
was
Columbus
text
encountered
I've
when he
been
came.
reading. Yes, not who you know as a Native American today. That's something different.
That is
Now
something
look at
different.
this.
Okay.
It says the time shall come when angels and know in truth that the Lord God is a false God and a vainglorious usurper. For I will leave one race of Ahuans on the earth in Gautama, the North American Indian. Look at that. Even to the era of Cosmon, the present era. And men and angels shall see and understand that man of himself never invents a God in the figure of a man, born of a woman. And that only through the inspiration of my enemies who build kingdoms in the lower heavens for their own glory has any people ever fallen from my estate to worship a God in the image of a man. So notice he say he's going to one race people in North America. It's the North American Indian, the copper-colored, nappy-head brother that Columbus and all the colonizers, you know what I mean, encountered when they came here. You know what I mean? And that's out the book. The Owaspi is a spiritual text that basically agrees with what our brother Chief Solomon is saying. You know what I mean? I mute up. I just want to share that with y'all, man. I mute up.
See, let me just tell everybody, this is a platform of truth. This is a platform of information. This is designed for us to know who we are and tackle uncomfortable topics that we don't like to talk about in our communities. This is a no holds barred conversation, and every piece of information will be shared on this platform. And like I said, I really appreciate you sharing that, Malachi, because we always get caught up in the classification. Let me realign it. We always get caught up in the classification, but who are we really? Who are we really? Who are we really? I mean, let's really assess who we are, because we can't figure out where we're going if we don't know where we came from. We don't know our culture. We don't have cultural exclusivity. We don't have communities. We don't have a economic structure. We don't have infrastructure. We completely destabilized as a people, and we keep calling ourselves something that somebody else is calling us, but we don't know how to call ourselves one thing. And we always have arguments over what's right and what's wrong, or I see that it's who's right and who's wrong, as opposed to what's right and what's wrong in terms of who we are as a people.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you
You
understand what I'm
already know,
saying?
bro.
I think that it's important for us to do that. So Chief, you saying don't trust like the places where you go to see if your DNA is West African or something like that. What route should one take?
Absolutely not.
What route should one take?
Again, I'll repeat it again.
The
Number one
elders,
thing is you want to talk to your family members. You want to
right?
talk to them first. Secondly, you want to get into the census, but well, you're going to get more information out of the census if you can talk to the elders. And if you can't talk to them, then you want to start getting your mother, your father's birth certificate and or death certificate. You want to get their mothers and keep on going down as far as you can go as far as the birth certificates and death certificates.
But what if
That's what you
somebody
want to do,
says,
and then you
what
want
if
to.
some, what if Chief? What if somebody says I can't find those things? Are they dead in the water? You know what I'm saying? Are they just
No,
done
I
for?
can't say they're dead in the water. I mean, the one thing that I wouldn't say that they're dead in the water. They'll need to do some more research because if there are adoption records. If you come to age, you can open up those adoption records. If you come to certain other things, again, you can. There are records that you can get. Now, I'm gonna tell you this: once you get some records, what we have to understand is a lot of our elderly people were very afraid to talk about our heritage. The reason why is because in 1924 they had the Indian Act of 1924, which said it made all American Indians U.S. citizens. And again, that's a very big distinction. Okay, so and then the second thing is in 1924 was the Racial Integrity Act, dealing uh, with uh, with Walter Plecker. Okay, So when you're dealing with those situations with Walter Plecker, I'm not sure if you all are familiar with Walter Plecker, but he had a system in the Virginias which basically said no, none of those American Indians were able to take their children home, and if they had a an indigenous or a tribal name, nor could they nor could they had to do it their way, where he said, kill the Indian and save the man. And that's the reason why they want to have the indoctrination of the different religions. And unfortunately we have we're still underneath that, because you have all these different religions out here today, and many of our people would fight over those religions, um, even before they would come together as a people, which is very unfortunate. Um, because we talked about systems and having a community. Well, we have I can get into some more controversial things, but
Spit it out.
community.
This
It's
is what it's
important that
for.
we
Do it.
this bit.
Spit
Okay,
it
well, let
out.
me tell
Go
you,
ahead. Don't
it's
hold back,
important
please.
for for us to really get where we need to get. We need to you can have your religion, but don't be so dogmatic about it that you're gonna cut each other off from it. Um, Secondly, we need to have the proper structure of family again. That's the one of the major issues that we have, because once we have that, then we're able to harness and the power, and keep that. So again, when we're looking back into a time of when many say, "Oh, we are free," or "We're free now," they say more women today are more free than they ever have been, but yet they're more lonely. They're more frustrated, and even though they say they're making more money, but the money is not bringing the happiness. Money is not bringing the joy, even though
See,
they're able to do some more traveling. But it's
but
not
see,
it's
see
not
that's
bringing out the things
but when we
that make
start
a
talking
difference.
about those things, right? So let me interject. But when we start talking about those things, we have to start talking about the system that we're in. It is important for us to
Oh, of
know
course.
what system we're in order to play the game. If you decide to play the game. So this is why the conversation is so important, is that you have done something that plenty of people have tried to do on different levels, right? You got people who are trying to be sovereign, right? Who want to be sovereign citizens. You got public versus private, right? We know that the United States is a corporation. We understand that our birth certificates represent some. Brother Malachi is, and I have years of information on that, right? So what is it? How do we get back to the essence of who we are as people of our culture? Like, and I say this to people all the time. When you look out at your world, every culture has cultural exclusivity. When you want Chinese food, you go to a Chinese restaurant. When you want African food, you go to an African restaurant. When you want good old American cuisine, you'll go to McDonald's, right? But where is the black experience? When we call what we call black experience, or you get kind of lost because you don't know what to call it at all. You just kind of get stuck in
And
like, where's
the the
ours?
reason the reason why that is because many of all the other cultures have taken so much of what we all have here. See, when you look out into the Egypt on that side where they had the pharaohs and their burials, and they had tobacco over there, they had all these different things. Those things all came from this land. Okay,
Exclusively.
Exclusively. Many
Exclusive.
other of the foods came exclusively from this land and were sent to other lands to grow in those other lands. So when you look at the history of it, this again, you're going to find the most ancient of civilizations on this continent, on the North and South American continent. The ancient of ancients you're going to find here. So when we are doing these things, saying, okay, what is our culture? It's all of it is our culture. Okay. So, and then secondly, when we're talking about quote unquote black culture. Again, our words make a big difference because and they do carry spells and they do have a spiritual connotation. So when we consider that today, we talk about okay the rap culture, the this and that culture, all these different things, but most of these things have much of a negative connotation in society at large, right? So when we consider that, we have to make sure that it gets back to a place where we are dealing with family. When we had families which were together, we were not calling ourselves Black and African American. Again, when you're talking about the situation, we do have to go back to history, and that's when those things start happening. Start happening around the 1960s
Exactly.
during the so-called civil rights
Exactly.
movement and talking about black power and that type of a thing. But the issue is that it was brought in from those who either knew what they were doing. Even Dr. Martin Luther King did not like the term black, even though he did let it go. But again, he was a very young man at that time. And so we have to look at those scenarios and we have to see what is the situation. Even him say, we're on our own homeland and being disenfranchised in our own homeland. So we have to look at these situations and we have to
Dude,
pay attention and have families again. Families are a key building block of society. And the overall society today is seeming to be seeming to fall. But you have to look at it, even from that standpoint, why or who would want the people to be separated to fall? And today, it's not even an issue of quote unquote race. Now, again, when I hear the term race, I'm talking about a race. It is a actual like a foot race for resources.
that's exactly
And
where the
that's why
term
that's
race
why they
comes from.
classify the people the way they
That's
do.
thank
Is
you.
for a race of resources.
Right, right.
That's
The
the
race for
issue.
wealth, the race for wealth, right?
Yes.
And that's interesting because I, this is why we have to unpack conversations like these. We have to have these kind of conversations because our people get lost. I just seen a girl recently online, and she was saying that she was going to celebrate uh, the 4th of July, and if that's what she wanted to do, no pun to her, but if we say that we're going to detach from certain things, you have to holistically do it, right? Like we have a Eurocentricized perspective of everything. I mean, it's European influences on everything that we touch, right? The question is what is unapologetically ours, and which leads back to you being a chief of a tribe. So how is that structured? Are there other people that are around that identify the same as you?
Oh yes.
Cosmo call
Absolutely.
is calling. I got a caller in. It's calling in with the following question. Cosmo Cal, we got you on the line. Let's see what's going on. Cosmo Cal, let's go.
Salute, salute, brothers. How y'all doing?
Cosmo Cal, what's the
Excellent.
word? What's the
Oh
word?
man, just enjoying the
Cosmo
meal, man.
Kruger.
So we add.
Yeah.
I like
Hey,
that you got into the conversation because it adds perspective. I like perspective. It's starting to feel more like
yeah,
home.
bro, very knowledgeable when it comes to all that, like the Algonquin and all that. Y'all are perfect brothers to talk to each other. Man, what's going
So
on with your background, Cal? What is all that?
it looked real spooky, brother.
Oh, that's one of them little backdrops.
Oh no, brother. That look real spooky,
Why
man.
don't you try to take
Take
the backdrop off?
take that off, brother. Take that
It
off.
looks spooky.
Yeah, you
Nah,
look like
you can't see you. It's
you
like
can't see you, man. You
it's
look
like
like more of
it's
a.
almost like you a ghost.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
It's almost like
That's
you a
right.
ghost. You floating.
That's
All
right.
right, hold on one second. Let me see if I can cut this thing off.
But
Take the
Chief,
virtual background off.
yeah,
You got
take
the
that off, brother.
Punisher hat
But
on.
Chief, go ahead and get that together, and I'm gonna ask Chief a question. Hey, so Chief, check this out. So your tribe, is it you're the chief of it? Is it your tribe exclusively your tribe, or are there other people who identify as the same, identify the same as you? Chief, I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Chief. Something's going on with your sound.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, excellent. Yeah, there are many others who do identify as I do. Um, and the thing is that we want to make sure that we educate people. There are many other. I'm also part of an organization called LINA, which is LINNA. That's the League of Indian Nations of North America, and I'm the law chief for LINA. So you'll find that under linacanada.org. Um, so and so when you see that, I'm also an ambassador and law chief for Lena, and ambassador for several tribes as well. So when we're looking at that, it's important that we understand that the different tribes have different history, and certain many other things had to be taken out. As a matter of fact, this is a very important part. Many of
Could
the
each tribe be considered a nation?
correct,
Could, e-
that is
could each
correct, and
tribe be
under the
considered a nation?
it is
Okay.
actually,
Okay.
and the thing is that inside of a tribe you may have different bands, right? Bands of people or families. So even the word tribe really can be just a family, right? But you do want to make sure you have it's an incredible amount of work, the work that I do, because and it's more of a glorified servant. So
Right.
Mm.
and it's important to understand that. And many people say, "Oh, I want to be a chief. I want to be a chief." Well, you probably want to make sure that you're the most important part of everything right now, to be straight, is you have to do your best to have your family together. Do whatever it takes to get your family together. It's
I
very
agree.
imperative. Again, one here has been with my mate for 36 years. We've been formally wed the corporate way for 32 years. We have five offspring. Oldest is 26. The youngest is 17 as of yesterday. So, and it's very imperative that we do that. That is the one of the largest things. And the reason why that is so important, because then that's when you have more influence throughout the
We
community,
lost.
right?
We lost Cosmo and Cal. We get him back, but go ahead. I'm listening to you, Chief.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we have more influence in the community. And you have to understand, you knowing your heritage is a very dangerous thing. It's a very dangerous
Mm.
thing to the Albions, uh,
Mm.
who they don't want you to know, because they only want to
What,
specifically
wait
deal
a
with
minute.
commerce and make
Don't try
money.
to run past that. Don't try to run past that. You said the
Yeah, yeah,
army.
you can't
What?
speedball that passes, Chief.
What
Hold
did you
on,
just
man.
say? You said the what? Hold on now.
Very
This is going to get
dangerous.
I,
serious. Now I
I
need
said
you to
I
go
said
ahead.
Albions. Albions.
What's that?
Those are those who truly misclassify themselves and call themselves white.
Alveons.
Mm.
Somebody gonna have to, brother.
I'll be honest. How you spell it?
Alveons. We need to get Cosmo and Cal back here.
Albion.
If you can get Cosmo and
Albion.
Cal back in here and
Albion.
clarify
Okay, I've heard that before. Albion.
Alveons. Now, see,
Albion.
ooh, come on, cook,
Albion.
Alveon. Tell me what that is. I gotta know what that is.
Well, again, it's just those who are very pale faced, and
Albino,
you know,
basically.
there you go. Thank you.
Exactly. And
So,
you know, and to add to that, there's a book by Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, right? May she rest in paradise, that talks about um, the rejection of the eternal mother through albinism
mm,
and the traits of albinism. And I always thought that was real powerful because it comes up in symbology, because that's the way that we originally expressed ourselves in symbols and stuff like that. Of course, Paleo Hebrew and all of those things are just forms of expression, right? So, but what she said is that everything innate about that is because they've been rejected from the eternal mother. So I just wanted to put that in there because Albions.
Yeah, I've heard. I read the ISIS papers.
Yeah.
20 years ago, man. I always used to check out Francis Cress Wilson. But I will always question though.
Okay.
I always question because it's ancient clans of Albions dealing with the most ancient cultures or tribes in Africa, dealing with the Pygmy Twa.
Hey, that's
you know what I mean. You dealing with some of the oldest tribes known to mankind, and you see the trait of albinism amongst them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. That's
and
true.
Then also,
that's true.
It's not as if it would be different as if we could pick our pigmentation or how much concentrated forms of melanin we have.
Exactly.
That would be different, but you're dealing with circumstances that's be outside of our control.
All right, we got Cosmon Kale coming back on in. All right, Cosmon, what's going on, man? You back on?
All right, my bad.
So let me bring you up to speed, man. We just got through covering something called what is it?
Albion?
The Albions, basically albinos.
The Albions.
Okay.
Brother, can you elaborate on the Albion? Please tell me what that is.
An Albion is, in a sense, a Norseman. Anybody of the north, in the northern polar regions of the planet. Right? This is one trick that they always play on us, though.
And all I was just basically saying,
brother, Cosmon, can you please get in with your camera, brother? I gotta get you in here, man. Come on in.
My camera ain't.
Now Maccabee's gone. What we having difficulty?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know. It looked fine on my side. That's why I'm saying I don't. My camera not coming through.
Can you see him, Chief? Can you see his image?
I can see a little bit. It's like it's behind a wall or something like that.
It's like you're behind a filter or something like that. It's not on my side. I'm checking.
Something.
A sheet or something.
That's weird. Because I don't see it.
I don't see it. Brother, listen. We're gonna keep going. I'm solution based. Just drop the science, drop the math, drop the mathematics, brother. Y'all, I want to welcome to the conversation because this is becoming a great organic. This is the first episode of Dirty Laundry, y'all, and we are here to build and share information that make us better as a culture, as a people, as just everything. It's a holistic thing, man. So we welcome information here, and we're gonna pound it out because this Dirty Laundry, we gotta air it out. Who else can air it out besides us, man? Who can air it out besides us?
You know what we did every Saturday morning. Your mama woke you up before you got the cartoons, before you sat down and ate a bowl of cereal.
Exactly.
Turned them sounds on and opened up every window in the house.
That's right.
Y'all got the cleaning.
That's right.
Every Saturday. So yeah. You know that's an Aboriginal characteristic too.
For
you
sure.
Did what I'm talking about. Everybody grandmama, everybody mama did that.
For sure.
Did what I'm talking about. That's definitely part of the culture. Salute everybody. That's my brother Malachi Maccabee.
Yes, sir. I got
Cosmon Kale, one of the four horsemen. You dig what I'm saying? And the simple fact is, just to be short and sweet with this, the Negro of America is the Aboriginal Indian of America. They're the same thing, right? Same people.
Right.
Now, back to what we were on with the brother, one thing that you gotta be careful though, you gotta be careful with is even when you're saying Albion, right? That doesn't mean that the people have white skin. You can be a pure 100% European. You dig what I'm talking about? You from Europe and you are melanated. So when they talking about who's who and somebody came over here and took something or reportedly did something to your family or this slave narrative or that slave narrative, you got to take all that with a grain of salt. You got to take all that with a grain of salt. For the simple fact is, they don't never know who they talking about.
I promise you.
So soon as anybody get to talking about black, colored, Negro, free person of color, Indian, even Indian. You dig what I'm talking about? You got to be careful and ask, well, who you talking to? And this is why we push in the Aboriginal movement, especially over here with the faith, is we push genealogy, right? Because many of the claims that twist our people up and got us lost in the sauce today are being made by people who don't know what they're talking about. For instance, many people say, "Oh, you got African DNA, and won't you? I bet you won't take no test." Listen, the funny part is, this is how you know they don't know what they're talking about or how DNA works. Simple. They are making claims DNA is not even making. One, they keep saying that they can spit in a tube and tell you their nationality, their heritage, their culture, or their ethnicity. That is false. You can never spit in a tube and tell you, what tribe you from, what cultural practices. Your mama was Ifa instead of Yoruba, or Khoisan verse. You couldn't never tell the actual practice. You can't do that with spit in the tube. But the most important point is DNA says it can't prove your nationality, your heritage.
So how would one? Okay, Cosmo, bring us up to speed with how would you prove it? How would you do it? Because I asked the chief. Chief said, talk to your elders. Chief said, I don't know why you on here twice, brother. I don't know why, Malachi. I got you in the building, but I don't know why you got two screens. Something's going on. Something's going on.
That first one.
We're gonna keep it rolling though, because I like this conversation. Chief Solomon said that you talk to your elders, you get with the census, you know what I'm saying? You check with birth records, correct? If I'm not mistaken, those are the things that you check with. Because all right, so we got a lot of different ideologies out here, a lot of different religious principles, a lot of different things. I know if you're a Hebrew Israelite, you believe that we came from Israel and we gotta
that's the problem. Everybody giving a belief instead of showing the proof. Right? When you're dealing with this has nothing to do with the story.
Right.
You dig what I'm talking about? This is about blood.
Okay.
And about where you come from and where that blood come from. You dig what I'm talking about? This is a thing of the blood. You dig what I'm talking about? So
yes,
the chief was right. First things first, speak to your family. Get your narrative. Ask them where they come from. And then that's when the genealogical work starts. Listen, nothing can be proven in court but the genealogy. They're not trying to hear. They don't care what your story say if your story don't match up to that genealogy. It don't matter what that DNA say if that DNA don't match up to that genealogy.
Right.
You can only prove what can be proven. But the sweet part about that is you can't tell the people who they're not. You can't tell the people who they're not. And I'm showing you for generation upon generation upon generation that my people from right here. And if many of you will actually do your genealogy, you'll find out that you have no African heritage, none whatsoever.
Let me say this, Cosmo. I've never. My sister did a search and she was like, "We West African," and I was like, because I know a couple things, and I'm like, they pull that from one source, but I've never heard our people being from Africa until you heard it. I'm almost 50.
Roots.
So you start seeing it then, like the Back to Africa movement and stuff like that. But you can't. All right. So once you start doing your own research, you go, okay, this was Pangea. Pangea was one supercontinent, right? We cannot refute that. And if you go far back, the people who were here first on every continent were melanated people. That's
Indeed.
irrefutable. That's irrefutable. There's no way to put that into a fairy tale, a story, or anything like that. It's irrefutable, right? So what the question is who are we at the core of that? Outside of what we've been told that we are, what we've read that we are, where's the actual research, the actual getting with Big Mama, your auntie, figuring out who's who without it being tainted by Eurocentricized hegemony?
Right.
That's why I'm at.
And that is why this is why you must have a paper trail. You can't just tell me. You can't just tell me. Other than that, it's just subjective belief.
Right.
You must have some objective fact. And what you're going to find is that's very objective. Is you ain't going to find one Mbekwe in your family. You ain't going to find one Mbutu. You ain't going to find one Ororianzie. You ain't going to find these African lineages in your name. And then you want to, let me double down again. I'm talking about in the 1700s. When you supposed to be a slave, you're going to find out that your people not only had land, but they owned farms. That you're going to find out that your people were never slaves. You ain't going to be able to find one slave. You're going to be able to,
Hey, listen, that's why we call this dirty laundry, because we gotta air it out.
I got a perfect brother to talk to you.
We gotta air it out. It has to be aired out. And touch on that, because I know for a fact, Chief, let me switch to Chief right quick, Cosmon, to get him into that. All right, so check this out, Chief. Do you agree with Cosmon is saying?
100%.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%. Absolutely.
Hey, look, y'all. It's a book you can go get, man. It's a book that I recently just ran up on. It's called White Cargo. White Cargo. Go get that book and read it. With the narrative they've been telling us about slavery this whole time, bro, is
totally backwards.
It's toast.
As a matter of fact, the whole 16, 19, 20 some odd Negroes and all that. First of all, 20 and odd some Negroes were from Jamaica. They weren't from Africa.
All right, but check this out.
Let me tell you.
But check this out. Check this out. I will give a caveat. My father would always tell me that our people were Gullah Geechee, right? And Gullah Geechee people have their roots in West Africa. But check this out. Hold on for 1 second. Hold on for 1 second. Check this out. But you have to deal with that. It's not called Africa. It's called a cable line, or whatever they called it before that. They keep changing the names. That's what I said in the beginning. You'll never know with that, right? All right. So check this out. But only a small percentage of Black people got to this continent on ships. It's just not. It just doesn't add up.
Well, let me twist your cap some more then. Because if you think you lost now, let me twist your cap some more. Because the people who got out off them supposed slave ships, they come from a place called the Guinea Coast. Do you know what a Guinea is?
Right. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, at the same time that they duped you, not you, but they told the narrative that we. Not you. No, I'm just saying they told us the narrative, right? That you were supposedly in West Africa, enslaved and got sold by some other Africans to some Europeans and then shipped over here. At that same time, there are 1.5 to 2.5 pale-skinned Europeans enslaved in Western Africa by the Ottomans, documented from 1500 to 1850. The same number that they're trying to say creeped into America are white pale faces in the western coast of Africa. Those people, there are some people called Afri or the cave dweller, the troglodyte, who are enslaved in the Guinea coast. Why do they call it the Guinea coast? Because the Ottomans were enslaving everything in the north of the Mediterranean, which is the Guinea coast.
Yeah, yeah.
Then
I
and
have to say
then
that's the
hold
truth.
on,
I gotta
because
agree
it
with
get
that.
worse because they employed other people like the Corsairs who did deals with the Vikings. So the Vikings would go all up north into Russia, into England, to Denmark, Sweden, Ireland, and Scotland raiding, and they would go get white folks. You did
Now,
what I'm talking about? They would
yeah,
go tear
that's
that
true.
up, and then they
Hey,
would
listen,
sell them to the
human
Corsairs.
trafficking has been a thing since the beginning of since the beginning
I
of
mean, it
human
is
beings,
what it
right?
is.
It is what it is, right?
It is what it is. And
But let me clarify this while you on that point. I want people to understand that some of our people did come over here on ships, and some of us didn't. But the vast majority of us are indigenous. That's
right.
the
And this is what I want to ask you a question. Where did the word redneck come from?
brother. That's a good question.
I'm gonna tell you.
I thought it was talking
Because
about.
I'm gonna tell you, it was some people who. Let me tell you why.
Talking about white folks. I'm gonna keep it real with you. White folks.
Come on, let me tell you why they got the name though. Because it was somebody who came over here on the bottom of ships. They just had pale faces from Africa. They got enslaved in the Caribbean.
Are they the Albions?
Come on, these are your Guineas, your Europeans. This is why they are enslaved in Haiti. They are enslaved in Barbados. They are enslaved in New Spain and all that stuff. This is how you get the name redneck, because you in that mountains high up to that sun. You getting enslaved. You getting a redneck, and this is where you also get the other term that they hide from us. They call them rednecks, crackers, but the other term is Mountain Johnny. Look it up.
Hey, listen.
Mountain Johnny. That's because these are some of the people.
Listen. Don't give me a new phrase and start calling people
Mountain Johnny.
If now listen, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Don't get me started. I start calling people Mountain Johnnies. Y'all gonna die laughing. You see this Mountain Johnny? But let me get back to being the person that I am. So check this out. So you telling me that we've been thinking that it's us who've been enslaved, but it's actually the other way around.
Hold on. Let me prove it to you. 1860, we start to go into what is called the American Civil War. Nobody ever told you that it started as a civil case.
Yeah, but look.
The Civil War is
called some pushback. Let me give you some pushback. Let me give you some pushback. So what about the people that say chattel slavery, and this is a reality that all of us have lived as people of color in this country, right? Chattel slavery really existed. How does that compare when people say, okay, well, you quoting that, but we actually had a condition. How did they bury all of this information and keep it from us? And we were the victims of chattel slavery for the better part of 400 years.
Well, if that had happened, if chattel slavery, first of all, let's get the understanding that the whole idea of peonage, chattel, any of that comes from over there.
Okay.
It is not our idea. Now, what we had prior to 1492 was a system of we call it and when you said chattel, it threw me off. 1 second, is apprenticeship.
Indentured servitude and apprenticeship.
No.
Yeah.
The indentures, listen, the indentures are the slaves. Same thing. Same thing. And whether you knew it or not, Chief, and most didn't because they couldn't read and write.
So, Chief, you
were signing their rights away. Now, listen, the people who came over here in that 1619, that wasn't us. No. You dig what I'm talking about? And the people.
Look. So let me do this. Let me say this. Okay, so check this out. makes sense as to why they miscegenated and amalgamated all the things together and mixed everything together, because it goes back to classification, right? It goes back to you being classified as a certain thing in this system of hyper capitalism, right? That's the root of it right there. Like, hey, listen, we need everybody to be classified as a certain thing so we can run this mug like we want to because of our inferiority.
Okay, well then, okay, well, answer this for me. Where's these people? Since we talking about classifications, in 1790 they had millions of free colored folks, free millions of them, and then they also had copper-colored aboriginals on the very first census. Where are their descendants today?
Ooh, now see,
huh? Come on, T. Come on, T.
See, you cooking, and this is what it's about. See, this is why it's dirty laundry, because we have to air.
We're here today. All around us is here today.
That's right. We are still here. So you know, this is a tough thing to talk about, bro. Do you understand that this comes with a lot of pushback, right? It comes with a lot of pushback. It's a lot of people that are probably watching from afar that are saying these Negroes done lost their damn mind. These Negroes done lost their damn mind.
You got to remember, they have indoctrinated many of us. Y'all think they got y'all to believe.
Hey, Cal, talk about how the Africa theory has been debunked anyway. The niggas don't never want to talk about that. Oh, we would never be here talking about we African Americans, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black. Had not there been a theory in place first called the Out of Africa theory. But that theory has been debunked. Cal, break us down on how
who was the person who started the Out of Africa movement?
Well, the Out of Africa movement or theory, the theory comes out of eugenics, right? Birthed in Darwinism, Melville Hershkovitz, all them. And then in the 1920s, think of this. The 1920s in the Harlem Renaissance, they created a fictitious history of niggas being from America. Zora Neale Hurston, the whole what's his name? The Cujo, Zora Neale Hurston, the what's the so-called ship that got sunk, the what's supposedly the last ship with Cujo in the little town Africa. All of that is a lie. Zora Neale Hurston got sued by a white girl named Emily Landry. Emerald. Well, anyway, look this up. I don't want to butcher the girl name, but Zora Neale Hurston, the story of Cujo, the last slave in America, Cujo and all them. She stole that story, which was and plagiarized it. And took that story from a white girl. And the white girl sued her in court and won.
Oh, man, you boy. Hey, listen, this dirty. Let's go on, wash it out, brother.
And then hold on, let me double down for you. Let me double down for you. Because I'm gonna make it real. I'm gonna make it hurt. Let me make it hurt a little bit.
Wash it clean. Bring it home.
Remember Alex Haley and Roots, right? Remember Alex Haley and Roots? Alex Haley got sued for plagiarism. He stole the whole story from a white boy too. Had to sign over all the rights and everything. So, and then let me make it real bad for you, because they showed you the truth in the movie when Kunta Kinte was running supposedly from trying to get away from the plantation. Who came and hawked him down as an Indian? O.J. Simpson. So they showed you that the nigga was the Indian, but here go the biggest dupe. Here go the biggest dupe right here. Kunta Kinte is a Choctaw name. It's 100% Choctaw.
It ain't even no African name. It ain't Ubuntu.
Yeah, it's Choctaw. It's Choctaw.
It's Choctaw.
100%. In the Choctaw dictionary right now, Kunta Kinte means he who speaks to the beaver.
He who speaks to the beaver.
Look it up.
Let's go for let's go
King Tech.
further.
So,
Let's go
so
further, right?
hey,
So
go ahead.
when we talk
Go ahead,
about
Chief.
the some of the movies that we even like, Black Panther, right? You're not gonna find any panthers in Africa.
Mm-mm.
You find them in North and South America.
Come on.
As a matter of fact, in St. Louis County, North St. Louis County, you'll find black panthers.
Hey, listen, listen. Y'all. I know y'all not ready for this. This is something that people are not ready for. It's not okay. It's uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable conversation because there you go, brother. I was wondering when your camera was gonna come on. I need Cosmo on here too. Listen, these are uncomfortable conversations, but they gotta be had. And what'd you say, Chief? It's Black Panthers in where?
In America.
In America.
North St.
Chief.
Louis County.
And in
Now-
North County, St. Louis.
North County, St. Louis. If I see a panther, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna have me a nice.
They usually catch them and they put them back. They catch them and they put them back.
Put them back.
Let me
Yeah,
twist your
because
cap a
usually
little bit more.
there's a park called Sioux Passage Park, and Sioux Passage
familiar
Park
with
is
Sioux Passage.
at the very end. At the
Yeah,
very
we've
end
been
of
to
Sioux
Sioux
Passage
Passage.
Park, there's an island that you can go to when the waters are low. You'll find some nice wildlife over there. Yeah, but they come over when the water levels are low.
Yeah.
They can come on over, but they get them back.
Yeah, I done been right over there. I done been right over in Sioux Passage Park, right down there on like the river, like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
And let me
You didn't
twist
think-
y'all cap a
and
little
then you
bit.
didn't think you was gonna get ran up on by a panther.
Hold on, but let me twist your cap a little bit. When DeSoto came over here and he finally came up to America and he did his little loop around, he ran into the son of Chief Tuscaloosa. Guess what his name was? Black Panther. Hold on.
Wow.
Let me twist your cap some more. When he opened up his mouth and spoke to DeSoto, he spoke to him in broken Spanish. How? I thought it came from over there.
You see, this thing is deeper than what we think it is, right? And I'm all for research, right? I'm all for. I come from Malachi and I. We've been doing this for a long time, brother. I know y'all create a gang. Malachi, Maccabee, Cosmo, and K. I know y'all create a gang. We've been studying for a long time, and I think it's important for us to be able to search for truth unapologetically.
And then hold on, one more. I got one more. I got to twist your cap because Wakanda is here in America, North America, to be specific. As a matter of fact, the name of the Great Spirit in the Siouan tongue is Wakantanka, right?
Now,
and hold on, Wakanda is
Say it
the
again,
name
bro.
of the Great Spirit, and this is why. Look it up right now. I want somebody to Google it right now. Look up Wakanda Springs. Wakanda. WACONDA or WACANDA. Wakanda is in North America. Look up Wakanda Springs. And the factor why it's so famous is the water heals you. You get in that water in that Wakanda Springs, and it's heavy with metals. And you get in there, and you get in these springs, and these springs make you feel better. You dig what I'm talking about? Heal you up.
Regeneration. Some regeneration.
So the name of the city, Wakanda, is actually the name of the Great Spirit in America. Huh?
See, I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I'm learning some stuff because I don't know nothing about that. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. And it's important for us. It's important for us. Hold on. It's important for us to have and unpack these conversations. Now, Chief, have you ever heard some of these things being said around the tribe? You being a chief and everything, do they?
Yes, we have many chiefs and chiefs. As a matter of fact, again, there are when we talk about these tribes, right? What we have to realize is that there are many of these state recognized tribes, federally recognized tribes, and many of them, even when you go back into many people's history, you'll find out that they're really from Russia and Ireland and different things of the
Mhm.
sort. And when you find those things out, the reason why it's so important is because some of our chiefs have the original bloodline, have the
Mhm.
original bloodlines, and it's known, and you can
And,
get some of those records
and they
from
look
the
like us.
tribal area. Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely,
I'm
absolutely, no
man.
doubt
I
about
want
that.
to. I'm telling you, bro. Like, if I could really invite you to have another conversation about this. I want to have another conversation about this. I want to have you on the show again where we can go in depth about that because I know my grandmother, every black person got a story about their grandparent being a Native American. I heard stories about my grandmother being indigenous, you know what I'm saying, from
That I
this
think
land.
that's I
Mine
think the
too. Both
terminology.
sides.
I was gonna
What's the
say
terminology?
the terminology is important. Remember, we're aboriginal. We're from the originals. You
Okay.
did what I'm talking about. So we will
Aboriginal.
be aboriginal Indians, aboriginal Americans. You dig what I'm talking about?
I
We,
like that.
even though all aboriginals are native, right? The meaning native only means you were born here. We got to
Right,
remember
correct,
that Native
correct.
American only came on the scene in the 1960s.
I
They
agree.
weren't a
I
people,
agree. I agree. I
right?
agree. I know that
So,
to be
and
true.
then in the
The political
1860s,
party.
right, they were a political party, the Know Nothings, right? This is where they come from. You ever seen the movie Gangs of New York?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They were
Yeah.
the Know Nothings, the Native Americans. They were white boys who were mad at other white boys coming over here from Europe and being undergirded by the even though
Yeah.
they were peasants, they were being undergirded
Right,
by the
right.
United States government to go
Agreed.
west and get land when they
Agreed.
had to stay over here and just
Agreed.
work and all that. So that was the whole Native American issue. And later on, because they did fight on the side of the unions and stuff like that, they bought land plots. They went in businesses bought land plots and sold them for $5 on the Dawes Roads later.
Yeah.
Right, this is how they were able to get in, because they were signing contracts,
Yes.
indenturing
Yes.
themselves to fight
Yes.
in the United States
Yes.
Civil War. Many of the Africans, right? I'm talking about straight from Africa. Look up a man named Nicholas Said. He is one of the most. He mentioned more than General Lee. We know more about this man than anybody, and he is a nigger African from the area we now know as Nigeria. And listen, he came over here. He came over here in 1860 and indentured himself. Indentured himself. Hold on. Fought on
I
the
agree.
side of the Union. Dig this. Fought on the side of the Union. Wrote his and got bounty land in South Carolina. Right? Notice he wrote a memoir, but in his memoir, he writes nothing about fighting for the Union. The whole reason he got here in 1860 and he writes his memoir in 1868, he doesn't even mention that he fights for the Union, that he came over here and signed an indenture. He wasn't no slave. He could already read and write. So the narratives they tell us. Another book I want you to look up. It's called the Hidden Cause of the Civil War, which was white slavery. That's who was being freed in the South. Niggers who were the Confederates owned white slaves. The reason why white folks in the North got upset about it, because they started to realize that this slavery thing knows no color bounds.
That's right. Slave.
Right. But dig
Let
this.
me So that explains a lot of times. I always ask people about Bacon's Rebellion. A lot of people aren't familiar with Bacon's Rebellion and what transpired at that point in time, because what we consider white people and black people were fighting against the status quo. They were all slaves.
Facts. What, as a matter of fact, wasn't nobody in the world called white before 1681, right after Bacon's Rebellion.
That is
nobody.
Nobody was.
The social status hadn't been created yet,
Exactly.
and it primarily means. Let me tell you what white means. White means Christian, European, and descendable. That's all it means. So it don't got nothing to do with skin color.
All right.
So Toussaint and all them, Layover Chore and all them, even though they was niggas, they was French.
They was French. That's correct. So y'all,
so they were white.
I hate to stop you. Y'all, we only got 5 more minutes. I want to close out the show, but I do want to invite everybody to come and go live with us, man. Come talk to us, man. And in closing, Cosmon Cal, what do you want to tell them? What do you want to tell them to go look for?
Hey, man, salute to the Aboriginals, man. I'd just like to say love, life, balance. I will just tell y'all the only way that this will work as a community, the only way it's going to work, and the only reason it hasn't worked is because your focus isn't correct. Until the focus is the Great Spirit and these babies, nothing else will work. Your ego will get in the way. Money will get in the way. Your belief will get in the way. You dig what I'm talking about? Until it's listen, y'all got to understand this. The reason you're understanding and coming back to the idea that you're an Aboriginal is because your ancestors are impressing this in this time. Those who have long been praises of the Great Spirit. And dig this, you taught the Native American, taught them so well that, even though they're, they conflate them as us, we taught them. This is why their stories are anthropomorphic. We taught them about real men.
That's right.
God was a real man when we told him. God turns into a bird, into a turtle, into a dove, into all type of things when it get down through them. But listen, that don't matter. Even the fake niggas knew to praise the Great Spirit.
All right, brother. All right, brother Malachi. Thank you for that, Cosmon Cal, brother Malachi Maccabee. What you want to tell me? Hey, listen, brother Malachi Maccabee has a book out. I wanted to really address this because I want to promote everybody and what they do on this platform. We are supporters of people expressing themselves creatively, and also we want to market your product. So if you want to be on the show and want to get your products marketed, hey, come on in. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to air it out. With that, Malachi Maccabee, tell them what you got going on, baby. Tell us where we can find you. Tell us what products you have. Where can we get this stuff at? Where can we do it at, brother?
Hey, man, so right now I'm sharing my screen. It should be popping up. It should be popping up. It's loading up right now.
And while it's pulling up, Chief, I want to tell you thank you. Thank you so much. We're gonna find out everything we need to know, because I wanted to cover, we just got so good and so deep into what we was talking about. I wanted to get into the trust thing and how you establish trust and tell us about that. I really want to get into that, but go ahead, Malachi Maccabee.
I don't know if it's up yet, if it ain't loaded.
It's up, brother.
I basically sharing the link. Y'all can see it.
You just pulled it down. We had it up.
Hey, Chief, if you could,
I think
man.
you got kicked off.
Yeah. Hey, Chief.
You all yes.
If you could, man, hit one of these brothers so I can get you on a show. I would love to get you on the show. For my bad. For everybody, I'm Cosmon Cal TV on YouTube and Facebook. Y'all can go check me out there. I got a plethora of stuff. Whatever you want to talk about, I'm sure I got some. I didn't talk about it. But Chief,
Awesome.
if you could, I'd love to have you also, and you too, bro. Come on to the show.
For sure.
And y'all get you, because I'm starting an interview series, to get these interviews, these interesting people with these interesting points of views. You
For
dig what I'm
sure.
saying? So
Absolutely.
I
For
was,
sure.
Chief, you are welcome. I am King, you welcome too, brother.
For sure.
Y'all
For
come
sure,
on
bro.
by, man. Cosmon Cal TV
We're gonna be
on
talking about
YouTube. Sub, like, share.
Awesome. You'll be able to find me at brakasolomon.com. That is BRAKAHSOLOMON.com. That's
Mhm.
where we help bring families together. Again, our big thing is making sure that families are able to come together. That's the beginning of community, the beginning of nations, and beginning of our area. So that's a very critical aspect, and we want to make sure we're able to do that for many families. So that's where you can reach me at. Thank you.
all right.
Thank
So
you. It's been an
hey,
absolute pleasure
hey,
being on
no
here.
problem. Hey, man, thank you for coming on the show. Thanks for having this conversation, y'all. We're gonna be doing this every week, every Thursday at 7 o'clock. Every Thursday, 7 o'clock, we're gonna air it out, y'all. I had to do this from the remote location of Riverside. Thanks, Riverside, for allowing us to do this. But I have an in-home location. I got a not an in-home, but in a studio. I got a whole working studio right here where we're gonna have some live guests, we're gonna have some remote guests, we're gonna have all kinds of guests on the show, and they can air it out. We talking about black issues. We're gonna air out black issues on Dirty Laundry, y'all. I'm waiting on Malachi Maccabee to come back in. Talk to us a little bit about the trust thing, Chief. Talk to us a little bit about that while we wait for Maccabee to get back in.
One of the issues with that is that you have there's a public and a private situation, and when it comes to those, and you probably want to get into some different books. Well, just the beginning of it, one called Wise Concise, Trustee Handbook, and understand those different things. And I think it's imperative that we do a lot more reading as a people. That way we can get a lot more out of out of what this commercial system is showing us. So as we get to do that, I think that's something that's going to be imperative for each one of us to continue to learn and do more reading on when it comes to dealing with this commercial realm.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
other than that, that's the best way to do it in a very short time span. Um,
Well, we're
and
gonna have you
again,
back on the show,
again,
man. We just got when the spirit moves, you just
thank
got to
you.
move with it. That's just what it is. But I guarantee you, y'all, everything is going to be on the up. We are always going to air out this dirty laundry. We're gonna tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not. We're gonna air it out.
Hey, Chief, do you think that our social classification is important in these days and how we move in this society?
It is absolutely critical. When we look at the document
Mm,
called the SF 181, it
come
Right.
is a
on now.
document, means Standard Form 181, where you can easily get it off of the GSA website, the Government Service Administration website.
Hmm.
It is still there. It is the number one document that they use to make these classifications. The biggest thing that you'll see on there is that the Black and African American are not classified as a people. Therefore, they have no rights to the Constitution and have no rights to anything. Basically, they're considered a thing, and that's where many of our people, and even then, again, even using the term black, when we are
Hmm.
talking about when you talk about the word of dealing with sorcery or dealing with other things, it is a negative connotation.
It
And so
is.
when we talk about quote unquote black culture, we're talking about dead culture. We're talking about a culture that is cursed. We're talking about a culture that is no good. So it is imperative that we really abstain from using those particular terminologies when it's talking about us as a people. That is one of our biggest areas. And even from that standpoint, um, you'll notice that once one has that particular status corrected and changed, their credit score goes up. once they're able to have that, I mean, a lot of things are able to change, because according to the law, once one is classified as black, they're instantly guilty. It doesn't matter really what the situation is; they're guilty.
Say that loud for the people that's
So
in the
again,
back.
those are,
Say that one more time
yeah,
for my audience, for the people that's watching.
once they're classified as black, they're instantly guilty as a African American. Again, and they are also are not able to have any particular. They don't have any origin. When again, it goes back to the SF 181. Black and African American has no origin. Therefore, that they are a thing. They are a thing to be controlled, and they are non-descendable.
Yep,
So
non-descendable.
non-descendable means that they have no descent. They have
I know
no
this right.
descendants. They're just a
And don't
thing that
forget
has come into
about,
being.
he was talking about the
Go,
SF 181. Don't
The
forget about the
that's
SF
correct.
55.
SF 55. I was just going to
Don't
say
forget
that.
about the SF 55. And
Exactly.
these
As a matter, go
are
ahead. Thank
things
you.
that alert the system to your status changes. You dig what I'm
Yes,
talking about?
yes, and
Go ahead, Chief.
absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is that when you're looking at those documents, it's imperative um, that we are aware of them and that we use it. Now, the funny thing that's happening today is they are starting to veer a little bit away from that. So they're trying to confuse
They trying
people
to
even more
confuse people.
today.
That's right.
So they're
That's
not
right.
using the terminologies that is on the SF-181.
That's
They're
right.
Yeah.
using other terms to try to dissuade you. So therefore, that's why it's imperative that we understand language and that we understand the difference between Native American, American Indian,
Mm-hmm.
and that's fine. Again, Native American is what is a social construct, the political party.
Yeah.
American Indian is what's on the SF 181, but
Mm-hmm.
that's from a commercial standpoint. But who do you say that I am? Who am I? Again, that's I being the man, an American Aborigine American, or one of the Niji that is original to this land. So it's imperative that we are able to do that and that we make claims to such. We must make those claims in writing. Again, the issue for us is that we used to pass things down by word of mouth, and that's great.
Oral tradition.
The
Oral
oral
tradition.
tradition, many of the others,
Right.
guess what they did? They said, we're going to inscribe everything on paper,
That's
and
right.
we're going to say who you are on paper. And we have to have to rebut all those different things in writing.
In writing. And with that,
Yeah.
y'all, we got to end the show. Thanks, Cosmo and Cal for coming on, man. I'm gonna reach out to you, man. I want to have you on the show again. Thank you so much, Chief, for coming on and sharing your wisdom. I hope to have you back on the show
Absolutely.
again too. We definitely got to go back through this, y'all. This is not a one conversation that we can have. We have to have many of these, right? And I really appreciate you coming on tonight. I don't know what happened to my brother Malachi Maccabee, but that brother got a great book out. We're gonna have him back.
Man.
He has a great book out, y'all. He has scented oils, Marvelous Mac. You can find him, man. I think all you got to do is go on Facebook and put in Marvelous Mac, and that brother will come up. You know how you do the search engine. He has a wonderful book out right now. I wonder if I can get him back on. I really would like for him to pub that, but y'all, we got to go. We've been on for 2 hours, man, and it's been a great conversation, y'all. Thanks for listening in and tuning in to Dirty Laundry, y'all. Until next week, I'll holler back.
Salute.
All right. Right.
Salute.
Salute.